Breaking news. Joel Quenneville has resigned as Florida Panthers coach. This resignation comes as details of the Blackhawk abuse scandal continue to unfold. Quenneville, who was the Blackhawks coach in 2010 when the alleged abuse occurred, resigned on Thursday night. His resignation was accepted. Here's the statement from NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman. The National Hockey League agrees with the decision tonight by Joel Quenneville to resign his duties as head coach of the Florida Panthers. In his former role as Chicago Blackhawks head coach, Mr. Quenneville was among several former members of the club's senior leadership group who mishandled the 2010 sexual assault claim by former player Kyle Beach against the club's then video coach, Brad Aldrich. And following a meeting with Mr. Quenneville that took place this afternoon in my office, all parties agreed that it was no longer appropriate that he continue to serve as Florida's head coach. I admire Kyle Beach for his courage in coming forward. I'm appalled that he was so poorly supported upon making his initial claim and in the 11 years since, and am sorry for all he has endured. We thank the Panthers organization for working with us to ensure that a thorough process was followed. Given the result, there is no need for any further action by the NHL regarding Mr. Quenneville at this time. However, should he wish to re-enter the league in some capacity in the future, I will require a meeting with him in advance in order to determine the appropriate conditions under which such new employment might take place. All right, for more on this story, let's bring in Steve Goldstein. He's a play-by-play announcer for the Florida Panthers. Steve, what has it been like with and around this team over the last few days?
Well, Eric, it's just a brutal situation. First of all, there's no other side of this. Obviously, Kyle Beach is the focus, and the horrific acts by the video coach and the criminal acts that he's done since, because this happened again, and that's what got Kyle Beach to really come out about this. The team has been able to compartmentalize it. They played a game last night. This all was happening so quickly. Kyle Beach didn't speak until just before the Panthers game started last night against the Boston Bruins. So players didn't even really know about it. We flew here to Detroit today. Obviously, Coach Quenneville and GM Bill Zito were in New York with Gary Bettman. And I'm sure players are finding out about this, now like all of us are. So a horrible situation all around. And obviously, 11 years later, there's accountability, and now it's filtered down to Joel Quenneville.
Obviously, there will be more fallout in Chicago and with the Blackhawks. I'm not going to ask you to comment on that because that's not your club, but what is the next or fallout from the perspective of the Florida Panthers, or is this book now closed and they just move forward here?
Yeah, Eric, I think the book is closed for Florida. First of all, from a hockey standpoint and from a fan standpoint, it's just so unfortunate. The Panthers finally have, and they got their best team ever. Last year was the best team they ever had. This year's team is even better with a 7-0 historic start. And now the Panthers pay the price for something that their coach, their employee, was part of 11 years ago with another organization. So, the Panthers over the last 48, 72 hours let the process play out, did the right thing. They were in New York meeting with the commissioner, and Joel Quenneville made the decision to resign, and the Panthers accepted it. So, the only fallout, I think, from the Panthers standpoint now is, what do you do as far as a permanent head coach? And can you keep that level of play that this team was playing under with Joel Quenneville as their head coach?
Obviously, this story is going to continue to develop, and we'll continue to cover it, and there will be additional fallout. But from your perspective in Florida, you mentioned they got to figure out what to do going forward. I mean, there's a hockey team, and this is an NHL season. Who is going to be the coach? Do we know?
Well, Andrew Brunette is going to take over as the interim head coach. He's been around the league. Played forever. Actually played for Joel Quenneville at a time, was in the front office in Minnesota, director of player personnel, and he's been on the Panther bench for 3 years as an assistant. So he's an experienced hockey guy. Whether or not he has the opportunity to be the permanent coach, I don't know that. They've got some big decisions to make. This team is a Stanley Cup contender. Most people right now, and it's only, Eric, 3 weeks into the season, but Panthers are the best team in the NHL. Offense, goaltending, they're off to a historic good start. So I think they take a long-term approach here because the playoffs don't start until May. And you need a guy behind the bench that can make those quick decisions in the heat of the moment, in the game sevens, in the Stanley Cup final if they get there. And do they think someone that hasn't been there and done that can handle it? That's something they need to figure out. But it is, I do think it's a huge decision. As good and as talented, as deep as this roster is, I think a big decision of who the head coach is going to be coming up.
Steve, thank you very much for the perspective from Florida as their coach has resigned. Joel Quenneville, who was in the middle and certainly was the coach of the Blackhawks when this scandal and these allegations were made, is now out in Florida. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, here is the statement from the Florida Panthers. After the release of the Jenner and Block investigative report on Tuesday afternoon, we have continued to diligently review the information within that report in addition to new information that has recently become available. It should go without saying that the conduct described in that report is troubling and inexcusable. It stands in direct contrast to our values as an organization and what the Florida Panthers stand for. No one should ever have to endure what Kyle Beach experienced during and long after his time in Chicago. Quite simply, he was failed. We praise his bravery and courage in coming forward, end quote. Also, here is the statement from Joel Quenneville. With deep regret and contrition, I announce my resignation as head coach of the Florida Panthers. I want to express my sorrow for the pain this young man, Kyle Beach, has suffered. My former team, the Blackhawks, failed Kyle, and I own my share of that. I want to reflect on how all of this happened and take the time to educate myself on ensuring hockey spaces are safe for everyone.